So the beginning of this video is going to be starting a step-by-step through a scrapbook layout. And so what I've got are 3 photos, and these are my core elements. I like working in odds, so if I were to have 2 photos, I would have like a journaling block. But these are my core pieces, and so the first thing you want to decide is what papers are you going to use to kind of complement these images. And so I chose something from Paper Wishes. It's called Christmas Cabin. It's got a lot of patterns. And the first thing I want to do is decide on the backdrop. So I've got a backdrop, and in this case, since I have 3 core elements, I'm going to need 3 complementary patterns, and I'm using from the same paper pack. And you want to take a look, so kind of drop back a little bit. And if I were to just put these photos on some combination of these papers, they would kind of get lost a little bit. So I want to make them pop. And so for each one, I'm going to go with white. I could have gone with black, green, red, any of the colors that are represented here. And just create a mat that is 1/8 larger or 1/4 inch larger that gives me an 1/8 inch edge around each photo. So I want to do that. And then the second thing I want to do is I want to take each of these photo sizes and add 3 inches. And so I'm going to have a very wide pattern piece of paper. So I'm going to leave you photos of these pieces. I'm going to mat them. We're going to take a look at some of these other mats, and then we'll be back with arranging them onto your page. So now we're back to arrange the page, and I've got my thin border mat, and then I've got my really wide. You don't have to go 3 inches. That gives me 1.5 on all sides. If you want less of an impact, make less of a outside large mat. And so what I'm arranging, well, first thing I'm doing is I'm looking at that base pattern paper. And so it's got a lot going on over here, so probably I want to bring this over here. Now these are not attached, and they're not attached, and they're going to follow along with the larger mat. And so I know I want this larger photo in here. This one, I want to lay on top of that photo. I want my dog showing up, so I'm going to do it something like this. And since this photo is on top of this photo, I want this mat to be above the large photo mat. So it's going to go something like so. I'm still going to center this on this piece. So it's going to be like that. Of course, everything is going to be really square. And then the last photo I've got is this one. And I'm probably going to put it independent. And so I can do anything with this larger mat. I'm going to stick it under, because it's the smaller photo, and so I'm going to make less of an impact. And so this is how this is all going to turn out. Now if you wanted to gut behind here, you could. That is, save some of your pattern paper. But I'm just going to go ahead and use it as it is, lay it out, and then we're going to talk about embellishments and how to approach the embellishments for this layout. I'll be back. So once I've gotten here, all I've done is put my pattern papers behind my photos, and this is a little tip and trick. And so instead of bringing a ruler around all the time, I cut myself a 1.5 inch wide and 1.5 inch long, because I know that's half my width. So when I was positioning these photos on each of the patterns, I just put this against my pattern and then put the corner of my photo here. And this way you can see where each of these patterns have been placed this way. It's just a lot quicker, like I said, than moving a photo around. So that's just a little nice to know. The last piece of this puzzle is to include embellishments. And you can kind of sprinkle them around. But what I want to do is keep my eye focused, so visually I don't want my embellishments distracting from my core elements. And I can go with snowflakes or poinsettias or just the colors and some of these flowers, but I'm going to go with snowflakes this time because I've got these great cutting dies. So I've got a variety of snowflakes, kind of the same style as these snowflakes on the pattern paper. So I'm going to include them. But what I want to do is I want to go in a straight line, and I want to go through my core elements. So I'm going to kind of cut them and shrink them, but basically I am going to come through because, again, I don't want to distract the eye away from this focal. And so I've got a bunch of these little die cuts, and I'm going to bring them in like so and go all the way end to end of my scrapbook page and fill in some of these holes. And again, I'm not going to cover anybody, so if I need to chop them off, I will. Or you want to tuck them in, you could. But again, kind of visually bring this all together. So let me position this or fill in some of these embellishment pieces, and then I'll be back with the finished layout. Okay, this is how the page finished out. I've got another little construction tip or trick. Put some glue on a scrap piece of paper. If you've got edges sticking out, doesn't really matter so much on a scrapbook page, but get some glue under that very fine tip and then hold it down and it'll stay flat. And so I'm going to do that on some of these points. So just to kind of recap, first you've got your core elements. So again, odd numbers always works good. And then you pick out your papers. So then you mat your core elements and then you figure out your patterns for your outside mats and the width of those. Second step is you kind of arrange them on your page. And that takes a little bit of moving around and figuring out what works. But you really want them kind of clustered in some way. And then lastly is adding your row or column of embellishments. And this way you keep your eye in the meat into your core elements. And so that's how it's going to turn out. Now I'm going to leave a finished photo of that. I've also created a second layout that follows those same principles. And so what I'm going to do is have photos of the process as I went along and created this. And when I'm back, we're going to talk about this a little bit and how it meets those principles. First off, you're going to notice that these are not photos. These are pieces of birthday cards. And I decided on 3 focals that I was going to use as my core elements. And yes, definitely shapes. So if you have a shaped photo, or in this case, a piece of a birthday greeting, by all means do that. And also, I've narrowed my mats. So in this case, I've got 1-inch borders around everything. And the other thing I want you to notice, and we're going to talk about it in the next layout I'm going to go through, is I've added another piece of pattern paper here to kind of bring this way. So once I had that situated, well, first off, I'm going to gut everything. And then I've got several elements that came also off my birthday greetings, including the title or the sentiment that was on a card. In this case, I've turned it into a title and created this layout. And then just added buttons, because I had buttons on this piece, or on this birthday greeting, and so I just extended that, again, kind of in a column in this case. So I'm going to leave a photo of this finished layout, and then we're going to work right into this next piece, which is going to be the companion. So for this layout, well, first off, I already know the papers I'm going to use because I'm going to stick with the same paper pack, and this is called Picket Fences from Paper Wishes. And so I'm going to do that. I know I've got silver over in the other page, so I'm going to include some silver edging. So, well, first thing I did, again, I've got 1 photo this time, and so I'm going to stick with the same width on my mats of pattern paper, so it's going to be inch all around. In this case, I'm going to use white again as my edging on my photo. And I want to introduce that same element I had on the other page. And so I'm going to bring a pattern over here because this is where I want all my embellishments to hang out. So it's going to go something like this. Of course, my first embellishment, I'm going to add some lace that I die cut. This is paper twine cording, so I'm going to put that here and under here. I've got some dazzles that I want to add here. But here I'm talking about, again, 1 photo. And so what I'm going to do with my title, excuse me, is I'm going to break it up. And so I've already got a mat for birthday because the title is going to be My Birthday Wish. And so I'm going to follow, even though it's a title with some letters, I pretty much stuck to the 1 inch all the way around. And so we're going to position this way. And then this one's going to be up on here. So my is also a title. And it fits right into here. And the thing when you're arranging is trying to find interesting ways. You know, what's going to make things pop. And so this mat, again, is going to come all the way under even this border element. And then I haven't decided on this one yet. So let me get some of this stuff situated down and add some of these embellishments that go long ways. And I'll be back, not with the finished piece, but almost finished. I want to come back in this point in the process because the reason you lay everything out before sticking it down is because you're deciding what needs to go above, what needs to go under, and also if you're going to add things like this, rather than have to cut it afterwards, you can decide, well, this lace needs to be wrapped around this pattern paper, or this dazzle sticker needs to be cut off here and here before I lay it on top of this. And I continue to do that as I build my layout. So I already know that this mat is probably going to extend off my page, and I'm not worried about that. What I want to try and keep consistent is that I've got this here, and I want 1 inch on all directions, unless it falls off the page, to be here. So I can continue, and again, if I need to drop this down a little bit, I will. This is still not glued, so I can move it up. And then, of course, like I said, with this design, you want to keep that 1 inch, in this case, border element on all your mats. So, I'll take a photo of this, and then I'll be back. So once I reach here, and once you reach here, I mean, the rest is the fun part. But I'm going to remember that I'm doing a column here. And again, draw attention. Blank space is great in a layout. So if you're afraid of blank space, this is a great little process to try. Now for my embellishments, I'm going to introduce my buttons again, because I have buttons again on the companion page. And I've got a couple more of these dazzles that I might bring up over the photo over in this section. And it's always fun because I didn't tell you why I chose purple, because there's nothing purple in my photo. It's just because this happened in February, which happens to be my birthday, and purple is our color. And then as far as the patterns, really had more to do with what scraps I had in my baggie. So I keep a baggie of scraps in my paper pack, and I will use these before I'll cut into a new sheet. So anyway, one photo with matting of the titles in the same way, or if you've got, in this case, cards or other paraphernalia like tickets or whatever, this will work also. So large mat, different patterns that all coordinate with your backdrop. Then of course, your core elements are 3 photos with wide mats. Works also as long as your embellishments kind of keep everything in focus. So I'm going to finish up that last layout, and then I'll take a picture of that, as well as the combo, or the 2 combined. And I hope you took something with you can use in your own scrapbook pages. And I thank you for watching.